Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you're watching this, hopefully you're having a good day. Today, I'm gonna be working on the 240SX drift car that I am building. More specifically though, we are working on the suspension. So I went ahead and I have all the suspension laid out here. And it's actually taken quite a process to get to this point. Besides taking it completely out of the car and of course now it's here, I went through a whole process of I sandblasted everything here. I mean, literally everything you see here, besides a few things like these. This is a brand new part. I could get that brand new. And of course the colored control arms. Other than that, everything else here that's black was pulled out, sandblasted, and painted. I have photos of the entire process of all the sandblasting and painting, which is what I call the mundane work. I actually, I'll toss those up on screen now. If you haven't already seen them, I've been posting them to the Instagram. So make sure you follow the Instagram to keep up on the build slowly with just photos and stuff like that. Beside all the sandblasting and painting all the parts to make them look fresh and new again, I went ahead and since this car obviously is 33 years old, it's an old car, it's been around the block. It only has like 115,000 miles on the chassis, which is kind of crazy for how shite it is. So after taking out the OEM bushings, I went ahead and put in some fresh energy suspension bushings. Now these are supposed to be the cream of the crop when it comes to refreshing your 240. It's kind of just the standard go-to. Besides doing all that painting and installing the energy suspension bushings, which also were kind of a tedious job. Some of them were a pain in the ass. We're going to go ahead and we're going to assemble all of the suspension today. We're going to do the fun part, the point that takes so long to get to. We're gonna do that. I figured it'd be the best one to film, the best point to film for the whole suspension overall here. So let's get into it. We're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna start with the front. Make sure I put the right bolts and stuff where they go. Kind of hurts me to put this whole thing back together with some of these old rusty suspension bolts, but I was thinking about doing all new bolts, but once I started looking it up, it's kind of pricey just to do all of them. So I went ahead and got a set of solid riser subframe bushings. So these go in, and not only are they solid, so it helps stiffen up the rear of the car. You'd be surprised how much wiggle there is in OEM bushings after 30 years for just the subframe. The solid bushings tighten everything up, that help, you get that track driving ability, but also they raise the subframe up. So when you lower the car, your suspension starts to bind at a new angle. And then you want to bring the subframe up, which helps correct the geometry and everything ever so slightly. Every little bit will help. So that's what the purpose of those are for. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start putting on the control arms here on the right side. All right, so since we are switching our toe and camber arm to adjustable arms, we are going to get rid of the OEM adjustment for these, and we're gonna go with a eccentric lockout. So all this does is it's a solid washer that literally, it locks it out. It locks it out on the subframe, so any adjustment will be through the arm instead of the traditional OEM versions. So we're gonna use these to, install here. Which way do I wanna put the bolt? Do it like that. All right, I got this side all put together. I am just doing like finger tight, nothing overkill, because you're not really supposed to tighten this stuff until you got it up in the car and kind of have it where it's going to ride. That's where they say you're supposed to, torque everything down. So we will do that, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this side. No reason to film it all over again, so we'll just... All right, so now we have both sides in the rear tossed together. We've got the front subframe tossed together. So now the next step is actually going to be putting the subframes back into the chassis, back into the car, which we have a few more little steps I gotta do before we can actually do that. So everything that's left has to be put in the car after our subframes are in. So like the power brace, the sway bars, the tension rods, even the front knuckles, because to do the front knuckles, we have to have our coilovers in. Now, don't look at that. I know these are eBay coils. They came with the car. They're brand new, even though they look dirty. It was only driven to the garage on these. So I'm just gonna run these for now. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up those coilovers, get the dust and dirt off of them, so then we can, of course, put the subframes back into the car and start adding the rest of the suspension back into it and finish off this job. All right, different day, same pile. I went ahead and I got the coilovers all cleaned up. I also finished putting together the rear subframe. I tossed the diff in there. If you didn't see on the Instagram I posted, I got this thing all welded up and we cleaned it all. It's mint now. She's fully locked up. Both stubs spin with the input. So I went ahead and I also measured these out to OEM lengths. So we've got a rough OEM length alignment, I guess what would be kind of roughly there. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start tossing the suspension and the subframes. We're gonna start tossing the subframes into the front here. So let's get that. Even just tossing the subframe back in there, it's already like, that's a car. So we're gonna work on this side first, I suppose, and we'll start putting all the bits back in. And there we have it. Everything on the driver's side is now tossed in. I went ahead and also put in the front sway bar. Goofy stuff going on with the sway bar end links. The nut that came with it, instead of being like round, it's like, smushed. So when you put it on there, it has some resistance to keep it tight, but it's smushed way too much. It's crushed way too much where they barely go on there. I kind of straightened them out, but they got some munkle going on. So I don't know if I'm gonna end up using those, but we're gonna tighten everything up. And then I think we can actually start on the rear. Alrighty, so I've taken it upon myself to do some work off of camera. I went ahead and I actually got the rear hub and wheel bearing and everything on there, as well as we put the axles in. I don't know if you can see that in there. My brother actually was here just a little bit ago and he helped me put these in because they're kind of, with everything all attached, it's kind of hard to squeeze them in there. You gotta flex them and pop them in. And then we also did the fronts, of course. So we got brake, rotors. Still need to do the calipers, but it's literally almost done. Like, we could chuck wheels on this thing and this could be a roller. The only thing to keep us from doing that is actually I still need to get the steering rack and everything hooked up for that. So that's gonna be coming soon. I'm not gonna probably film that because that's kind of gonna be just boring. It's simple work. Just toss that together and we'll get that in. But we're really not that far off from having this thing back on the ground. After getting everything put in and the rotors really help too, it's crazy because it's like it's a car again. I mean, I know there's no motor in it, but it's crazy that it's a car again. It's been so long that it's been a shell. That is gonna do it for this video. We're gonna be doing the engine very soon. It's almost time to put that back in. So drop down below what engine you think we're putting this. I don't think you'll be able to guess it. So other than that, do the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe if you would like. Truly appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.